Hey Internet, I am back and really excited to talk to you some more about Enneagram. This video we're going to focus on misidentification again, but between Enneagram 2, the helper, and Enneagram 4, the individualist. Now these types actually I feel like are pretty easy to misidentify between for two reasons. One, they're both heart types, they're both feelers, they're both emotional people. But the second reason is because they're on the same health spectrum with each other. So Enneagram 4, when they are under stress and not doing so hot, disintegrate to 2. And 2s, when they are in an emotionally self-observant place and functioning in a healthy way, integrate to 4. So because of that shared line, I think a lot of times it's understandable for someone who's on that line to think, am I this one or am I this one? We see that a lot, and I think actually a couple of my other videos talk about that in regards to other types too. From the get-go though, one of the major differences between 2 and 4 is that 2 is a compliant type and 4 is a reactive type. This is a really huge difference, even from an experiential standpoint, as 2s generally engage with the culture and the world in a way that desires affection and desires to be approved of and accepted. Both 2 and 4 have the need to be loved as heart types. That's like one of their main focuses is needing to feel loved. But they have two really different reasons for not feeling loved. So 2s tend to really be yes people. They like to go with the flow and be friendly, amiable people. This is because their desire to be loved, they believe, can only be met through doing and giving to others. So we see 2s a lot of the time really leaning hard on that side of give until they're exhausted because they don't prioritize taking care of their own needs. 4, on the flip side, reactive type, tend to be a little bit less concerned with what people think of them. So we have this very different experiential temperature with 4 in that they really don't mind bucking the trend. Even a self-preservation 4 in their slightly more removed way is not going to be a cheery, yes, let me do whatever you want type of person. That focus that 4s have as individualists is actually on the self first. And that comes through introspection and constantly focusing on what am I feeling, what am I thinking, and almost to the point of only being aware of their own situation and their own feelings, which leads to sort of a pessimistic, depressed, Debbie Downer type of state. Whereas the 2, as we were saying, is much more others focused and tends to pride themselves on that. Pride, because pride is the core sin of 2. So when 2s look at their giving and their doing for others, they tend to pat themselves on the back and say, I'm so good, I'm so lovable because I give to others always first. But this tends to really backfire on them because when they're not taking care of themselves, that can really result in this transactional love type of philosophy. So they think to themselves, I'll give to you, and then I expect you to give back to me. And this is generally a very unspoken thing. It can be very passive aggressive and a lot of times fails the 2 because the person that they've given to doesn't know this. 4, on the other hand, tends to be a little bit more heavy boundaries, especially if there's a 5 wing in play. 4s with 3 wings can be a little bit more part of the culture, part of more popular things and wanting to have approval like a 2. So I think that's actually more of a conundrum than a 4 with a 5 wing compared with a 2. But we can talk about that in another video. The envy of a 4 does not consist of, oh, I want what you have, or that person's boyfriend is cute, so I want them. It's not that traditional jealousy. It's more of, I would use the word discontent, in feeling that they are always at a loss. They always have it the worst. They see everything as negative and tend to really see everyone else as being fulfilled. 4s tend to be a very philosophical type and really desire not only to be loved for being different, but the extraordinary. 4s have a very rich inner imagination life and tend to, especially in average or unhealthy times, tend to escape to some extent to that creative internal world and tend to intensify their emotions through that and define themselves by those feelings. One of the keys, I think, too, for growth, integration to 1, is that realization that my feelings don't have to be real. As much as what we feel is real, that doesn't have to dictate my reality, and I can choose to not feel that way. When 4s can focus their creative and emotional depth in a good way, that's when integration to 1 happens, and when they can use their hurt or suffering experiences to pursue justice and to see others also find redemption for their suffering. But when 4 integrates to 1, they can use those negative experiences and negative feelings for good and see beauty and justice and truth in everything around them. So they really turn from being pessimistic, Debbie Downers, into saying, you know what, no, we can see good in even things that are ugly and good in things that are broken. They also, I think, become a little bit more streamlined and focused in the way that they organize themselves and get work done. I think that average and unhealthy 4s tend to be much more scatterbrained, much messier, much more prone to rabbit trails and not being able to focus on their goals. 2, on the other hand, it's actually really healthy for them to respond to their feelings. 2s tend to actually press their feelings down, which is why 2 disintegrates to 8. So as we know, 8s are not super great at engaging with vulnerability. So when 2 goes to 8, they press everything down until basically they boil over and say, you owe me this, I gave you this and this and this. But when 2s are healthy and move towards 4 and say, hey, wait, like, I'm an individual and I have feelings that I need to address before I address the needs of others, that can be a beautiful thing. 2s who do that tend to discover their identity more. And I know some 2s that really are in a healthy place that are able to express themselves creatively a lot more. They're able to dream a little bit and not have to feel like they have to live up to the culture to be loved, which is a huge key in the integration process for 2. These are some of the main differences between Enneagram 2 and Enneagram 4. There are obviously others, but I think the keys always are motivation. Let's ask ourselves why, not what am I doing? Because 2s and 4s can do similar things, but why am I doing it? Also, instinctual differences will come into play. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link below to 2 and 4 specific instincts. Let me know if you have any questions on either of these types, and I will see you next time.